With 6 Skylanders games and 10 elements, there are loads of Skylanders out there, but which one is the best of each element? In this video, I'm going to be going over each element in Skylanders and giving my favorite Skylander of each. I hope you guys enjoy, and this is just my personal opinion. Let's get right into it. Snapshot is going to be my pick for water. Despite there being tons of good water Skylanders out there, Snapshot really stands out the most to me. I love the use of Traptanium in his moveset to get that sort of crystal effect that has that water coloring. I think that looks absolutely amazing. His wave pool that he can create that has like giant tentacles coming out of it that like slap enemies is super awesome to use. His bow and arrow works perfectly, and there's some cool tech that you can use with it to make it shoot very fast and very strong projectiles, much faster than the game actually wants you to, which is another really cool feature of him. Overall, he has an awesome moveset, and his soul gem is one of the best out there when he can make all these crystal shards come flying out of the ground as he slams the ground with his arrow. It is super cool to see a Skylander as awesome as Snapshot in a starter pack, and I absolutely love using this guy every time I play Trap Team. He isn't one of my favorite Trap Masters anymore as he used to be back when I was younger, but I still absolutely love Snapshot, and he's my favorite water Skylander because of that. Fire, I don't think this is to anyone's shock, but I'm going with Wildfire. He is my favorite Skylander out there, and this guy is one of the most beloved Fire Skylanders and also Trap Team Skylanders. Wildfire is just super awesome. The figure is absolutely amazing quality, and I love playing as this guy in game. He just absolutely thrashes around all the enemies, and it's super awesome. His Chains of Fire is a super fun attack that pulls enemies close to him. It also stuns them. You can keep them stun locked if you have them on the correct path, and you can do tons of damage with this guy. I absolutely love using those two attacks, and his Fire Breath is awesome. How could you forget about that? His Fire Breath is pretty much the perfect Fire Breath in Skylanders. I love how it works so much. Just this gigantic heat wave that gets shot at enemies, and it's awesome to use. He also has his lion form where he just pretty much goes savage and drops the shield and goes on all fours and swings his claws at enemies. Again, this is super cool to see. Really gives that lion and that fire energy out that you love to see. Wildfire is an absolute beast in game, and that's why he's my favorite Fire Skylander. And then for air, I have Free Ranger. Free Ranger has always been one of my favorite Skylanders, sort of similar to Snapshot and Wildfire. I absolutely love this guy. I think his design is pretty awesome. He is like this lightning chicken, which is supposed to be goofy, but it actually looks really cool, especially with the tornado on the bottom. That really makes his whole design feel so unique and funny, while also kind of looking pretty cool and looking like a fun Skylander to use, and his moveset definitely delivers to that standard that you'd expect looking at his figure. Free Ranger is super fun to use. You can shoot lightning bolts out of your face at enemies. It's super awesome. You can charge it up and have a much stronger lightning bolt. His bottom attack, his tornado, could pretty much just destroy any type of enemy. Even spinning enemies get spin around tornado, like around Free Ranger with his tornado attack, because of how awesome it is. It pretty much overpowers any type of enemy, and it's super awesome to use. Free Ranger, I have heard that Ranger is the best bottom out there, and his top half, his primary attack, isn't bad either. You slash around attacks at enemies and shoot a giant beam of air. It's super awesome. Free Ranger is always one of my favorite Skylanders, and he's just amazing in pretty much every regard. And then looking at Earth, I actually have Fist Bump. This is one of the Skylanders that I actually haven't had since I was a kid. I got him only about a few years ago, but I do really like Fist Bump. I think Fist Bump is a super awesome Skylander. He has sort of that panda rock theming that is really cool to see. He also kind of has a similar face to Chaos. I don't know if I'm the only one who sees that, but he does kind of look similar to Chaos if you ask me. He can sort of smash his fists on the ground and create these fault lines that shoot giant rock spikes and throw boulders out of the ground at enemies, which that sounds awesome enough in and of itself, but that's only his primary attack. His secondary attack will actually send out these fault lines, and they will sort of get in enemies' paths and do more damage to them. And then he can slide around, once again creating fault lines. Even by just walking around, Fist Bump is creating fault lines. There's all these fault lines. They're basically like cracks in the ground where sort of spikes can come out, and it's super awesome. And then he has his combos. He has his jump attack, which is really cool. It sends like a shockwave out at enemies. I absolutely love Fist Bump. He just wreaks carnage across the entire battlefield, and it is awesome. And then Life was actually a pretty difficult one to decide on, but I'm actually going to go with Camo. I think Camo is my favorite Life Skylander. His moveset works great. His primary is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. He can also heal himself when using it if you have, I believe it's either a path upgrade or the soul gem, but it is really cool to see that he can actually heal himself. Not many Skylanders can do that, so if you have a Skylander that can do that, they instantly sort of get a leg up above all the other ones. He has this giant watermelon barrier attack where he creates almost this like force field of sort of watermelons around him, and then he launches them in every direction, and they do tons of damage. This attack is super damaging, really, in any Skylanders game. I'm surprised this is not considered like too OP or something. I love this attack so much. You can also send out this sort of vine with explosives on it. It is really cool to see. This guy's design is also really good. I love this guy's design. I think it works perfectly. This guy is just one of the best SSA Skylanders for sure, and I again think he is the best life Skylander out there in my personal opinion. And then Undead is one of the hardest elements to pick. This roster of Skylanders is just stacked, but I'm gonna go with Bone Bash Roller Brawl. Bone Bash Roller Brawl, from the second I first played as her, I absolutely loved her moveset. It works so well and it's so awesome to use, and it fits her awesome design so much. Roller Brawl once again has one of the best designs out there, and I think Bone Bash Roller Brawl's design is even better than the originals. Bone Bash Roller Brawl is so awesome to use in that her moveset of like throwing out her little blades, and then she can also like throw out these kisses that will heal her. It's super awesome. Her primary is great, just like Spitfire's, where it's just good amount of damage. It's basically the perfect primary, everything you'd want in a primary. I say that about Spitfire all the time, but I think Bone Bash Roller Brawl actually shares that same sort of feature, which I absolutely love to see. And then of course she has her speed, she has her dash. It's awesome to see. You can see her like headbutt enemies. She can glide through the battlefield and just swipe away all the enemies. It's super fun using the Skylander, and Bone Bash Roller Brawl is 100% my favorite Undead Skylander. And then Magic is more of a difficult one to pick for, because this is my least favorite of the original 8 elements. Who I'm actually going to go with is Pinata. I think Pinata is a great Skylander. His figure aside, which his figure is just one of the best figures out there, this guy is awesome to use. This guy's moveset works out very well. His primary is fun and it does everything it needs to do, but his secondary is really awesome as well. His secondary will actually create this gigantic barf laser all over the enemies. It's super awesome if you're on the right path, and he can also just barf candy that will stun them and stuff. It's really cool to see. And his third attack is probably the best in game if you're playing on nightmare mode. He can sort of just spam his third attack and rain pinatas down from the sky that will just kind of distract enemies, and you can sort of move around freely while they do all the damage for you. Pinata is very fun to use in game. He's also very effective to use in game, and his gigantic barf laser and smashing lollipops on enemies and raining pinatas down from the sky is all super fun to use, and it creates for a pretty awesome Magic Skylander. And then when we look at tech, my favorite Skylander is actually going to be Chain Reaction. Chain Reaction has only grown on me the more and more I use him. This guy has such a perfectly crafted moveset, and I love it so much. Chain Reaction pretty much gives you everything you'd want out of a tech Skylander, whether it's lightning blasting down from the sky on enemies, or it's setting up giant turrets that shoot out shockwaves and have blades spinning around on them, or if it's just a great primary that has great damage and has multiple forms that you can use it with to do for the ideal enemies and all that. I think Chain Reaction's moveset just works so well in any scenario. He can take care of any type of enemy, and his damage is great. How fun he is awesome. He has great mobility. He can set up different attacks and stuff. Chain Reaction is super fun to use, and people say all the time he has one of the best designs out there, and I do love his design. Although I don't think it's as top-notch as people like to say it is. I mainly like this guy for his moveset. His design is still great, and he's a fantastic Skylander. And then for the light element, I 100% have Blastertron. The more I use Blastertron, the more I fall in love with pretty much every aspect of this guy's moveset. Not only is he one of the most fun Skylanders out there, but he also has such a perfectly crafted moveset to make him so effective at beating Skylanders and Imagineers pretty much all by himself. He can slow down enemies. He can make it so when he shoots out his missiles, they create a bunch more missiles that just do crazy DPS. He has a sword which acts as a good close range and long range option that can also be held to give him a speed boost, and then it can do a big spinning attack and shoot lasers in all directions that knock back enemies. Blastertron's moveset is so awesome, and it's just on top of a perfect design. I love Blastertron's design so much with the pink and the purple and the red lasers. I think Blastertron looks absolutely awesome, and his moveset 100% delivers on what you'd expect when you see his design. Blastertron has pretty much a perfect everything, and that's why he's my favorite light Skylander. And then the final element being dark, for me it's really a no-brainer. It's got to be Starcast. Starcast is pretty much light years above any other Skylander from the dark element. Starcast, I love him so much. I think I'm usually not the biggest fan of ranged Skylanders, at least when compared to close range Skylanders, but this guy's moveset is just so good. He can fly around on a massive shuriken and throw gigantic shurikens while he's doing it. It's super awesome to see. He can throw 4 ninja stars at once because he has 4 arms, which is kind of a cool thing. He can also create like a shadow form of himself that will distract enemies and shoot out these big shock waves that will damage a bunch of enemies enemies around him. It's really cool to see. This guy's moveset works out very well, and his design is awesome. His design and figure are really cool. Sadly, my figure is broken just a little bit, but that's okay. Starcast is a super cool Skylander. I absolutely love this guy, and I was so happy when I finally got to play as him, and he 100% delivered on the moveset you'd expect when seeing a design as cool as his. This is all just my personal opinion, but I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know who your favorite Skylander from each element is in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye everybody.